Welcome to The Tax Lawyer here on the Legal Broadcast Network. I'm Scott Drake, and my guest, none other than Robert W. Wood, principal at Wood LLP in San Francisco. We're talking about an article written in Forbes that has gotten people's attention. I mean, with all the tax code changes possible, and with the debt of the U.S. A premier concern, many are worried about mortgage interest, and will that deduction be taken away? Rob, welcome back.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
I guess that's one of the pillars of tax law right now, and what most people count on, and what helps drive the economy in many ways. Let's talk about that. What do you think the chances are that mortgage interest, or at least maybe not taken away, but changed in some way?
I mean, my personal view, but I want to stress that I don't have a particularly good crystal ball, but my personal view is it's highly unlikely. I think the housing market, as we all know, and real estate in general, has been hit so badly, over the past few years, starting in 2008. And if in many places it's starting to recover now, the idea of making home ownership even harder or more expensive, and of hurting the real estate industry and home construction and sales, strikes me as is pretty darned unlikely. But as you said, Scott, I mean, it's being discussed. Many things are being discussed. I wouldn't rule it out, but I would say very, very unlikely.
Mm-hmm. And you don't see any kinds of changes regarding that particular area of tax law?
I don't. I think, the funny thing is, I think people often overstate the value of their home mortgage interest deduction. I mean, it's an itemized deduction, so and of course I'm about to mention the dreaded alternative minimum tax, which we've talked about here before, the AMT. I mean, I think if you know what your mortgage payment is every month, and if you know what percentage of it is interest and what's principal, oftentimes almost all of it, at least in the early years of a mortgage, is interest. And if you sort of multiply that times the 12 months and look at what you're paying every year in interest payments to stay in your house, and then think about, don't necessarily just apply the tax rate to it and say, well, if I'm paying 35% tax and I'm having a total of X dollars, whatever it is, X dollars in mortgage payments a year, I can figure out how much I'm paying and how much the government is paying, how much the government is subsidizing my mortgage. I think that's deceptive, because you might be surprised if you actually got your tax return out and ran some numbers and found out how much benefit you actually get from your home mortgage deduction. It's going to vary significantly between different people, but and the more income you have and the more deductions you have, the worse it's going to be, meaning the less your deduction is likely to matter because of, principally because of AMT. So I think almost culturally, we're almost all against anything having to do with changing the home mortgage interest deduction. It is a staple, a pillar, Scott, as you said, but it may not be as great as you think it is.
Well, then maybe with all the people who got foreclosed on and lost their properties, should we bring back that renter's deduction again?
Funnily enough, I mean, I think that's always the comparison that people make, and people in the real estate business make, when they're looking at someone. Gee, should you pay $1,000 a month in rent or $1,000 a month in a mortgage payment? Look how much you save by not paying rent and by instead owning a home, and if you could get in with relatively little down and paying the deductible mortgage interest. So I mean, it's all in the numbers, but I think, as I say, and from personal experience, very frequently people don't realize how much or how little a benefit they get. And I mean, the rental deductions or credits and things like that, actually I think those have worked pretty well in the past, and maybe it is time to bring them back.
All right, Rob, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can find Rob at Forbes.com, also at woodllp.com in San Francisco. He writes frequently in Forbes. You can see him at taxlawchannel.com and regularly here on the Legal Broadcast Network. Thanks for watching.